Zinc Comics presents, live from Darshan Studios, Exposition with Brian Payne. Welcome to the show tonight, folks. I have in Darshan Studios with me tonight cartoonist Glenn Brewer from Columbus, Ohio. So without any further ado, let's get Glenn in here. Welcome to the show, Glenn.
Hey, how's it going, Brian?
Okay. Now, I've known of your work a lot longer than I've known you. I think I first came across your work in Cerebus. You had a preview in that. I'm not sure which issue that was. Do you know off the top of your head?
Off the top of my head, I do not know. I know it was near the end of his run.
Okay.
Dave Sims' run there.
Yeah, you were. It was a preview for your first comic, Askari Hadari. Am I saying that correctly?
Yes, that's correct. Yep.
Okay. And you were a big influence on myself because your comic was one of two photorealistic comics I saw previewed in Cerebus, the other being Strange Haven by Gary Spencer Millage.
Okay.
And both of you had an actual cast where you could tell that you were doing almost a mini movie and casting friends and people you knew in the roles of your characters. Am I correct in that?
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. That's exactly even the way the credits in my book were arranged was like a movie, like starring so and so as so on and so forth. You know, like almost as if it was a movie. That was my thinking. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I just read the first issue in preparation for this again, and I noticed that and thought that was very cool. And I know that Gary Spencer Millage has talked about this as well, and has talked about which friends are who and stuff. So, did you ever see the movie How to Murder Your Wife with Jack Lemmon?
No, I have not.
It's funny because I was never a comic kid. You know, I didn't read comics as a kid. I was kind of a hooligan, but there was a movie called How to Murder Your Wife, and it starred Jack Lemmon, and he played a cartoonist named Stanley Ford, and he used photo reference to draw his comic strip Bash Brannigan, and it was kind of a private eye type strip, and they would run around New York, and his butler would take pictures of all the scenes, and then he'd come back and draw the strip from that. And that's pretty much what I do, and it's pretty much what you do, and it's pretty much what Gary Spencer Millage does. So I always say that the movie How to Murder Your Wife taught me everything I know about cartooning. So
Okay, I'm gonna have to go ahead and check that movie out then.
yeah, it's a funny movie. You know, it's kind of a period piece now, but yeah, any movie with a cartoonist in it can't be bad.
Right.
Were your friends easy to get involved, or did you have to twist some arms?
No, it was pretty easy. I just kind of picked people that were around me, people I work with, people I knew, and everybody was down, man. It's actually pretty easy.
Okay, and you're in Columbus, Ohio, correct?
Yes.
Okay, now in your book, there's a town, there's a city. What is it called?
New Buskell.
Yeah, explain that. Is that just a fictional town? Does it have some Columbus reference or what?
Actually, yes. I was trying to come up with a name for the town, and I had my ruler in front of me. My ruler, excuse me, is a ruler that I got. I was a student of graduate of art college here, Columbus College of Art and Design. So I just took Columbus. I think like the first part of it spelled it backwards, Buskell, and then I put a new in front of it, and that's how I came up with the name.
Okay, yeah, I know that Columbus is called C-Bus. Now it makes sense. Okay, I got you. I was curious about that. I didn't know. I was wondering. I wonder if it's a neighborhood or something. But that's even more ingenious.
Yeah,
And there were how many issues of Askari Hadari were there?
there were originally the original run. There were 6 in total, but when I did the trade, I added about 22 pages of new. Uh, I added about 22 new pages. Um,
So,
so 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 technically 6 issues, but there's almost in the trade. There's almost 7 issues worth of pages.
right, because 22 pages would have been the 7th issue. Cool. Um, Now I know that Askari Hadari was nominated twice and eventually won the Day Prize. Uh,
Hmm.
when when did you win the Gene Day Prize?
You know what? I don't remember right offhand.
I'm thinking either 204 or 206, but I
Right?
could be
Yeah.
wrong. Yeah.
Yes.
And
Maybe 204. Maybe 204.
okay, what was that? And that was at Space, correct?
Yes. Correct. Yep.
Okay. For those of you who don't know, Space is a small press expo comic show in Columbus, Ohio, and the Gene Day Prize. It was created by Dave Sim, the creator of Cerebus, in honor of Gene Day, who was a friend and mentor to Dave Sim, and there's been a lot of people who won it. I think it's been retired now, but you definitely deserved it. So I was happy to see you win that.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
And when you were there, did Dave present it or did somebody else present it to you?
I want to say he did present it. I know he was for the first couple. He was actually there. He come to Columbus.
Right.
Uh, in fact, when I won, we all went. We all went out to dinner. Um, so that was kind of cool. Me and Bob Corby and him. I think so. I think Gerhard was. Is that how you pronounce his name? Gerhard.
You
Gerhard.
know, I had an episode where we were mispronouncing it left and right, or at least I was. So I'm the wrong person to ask, but I think you're right. Yeah.
Okay. Well, he was there too. So
Yeah.
I think Dave presented it. You know. I
Okay.
think he did.
And again, for those who don't know, Bob Corby is the founder and facilitator of the space show in Columbus, Ohio. Now, I'm going to pick your brain again. From my understanding, Askari is an Arabic word meaning soldier, and Hadari is means heart of the lion in, I believe, Swahili. Am I correct in this?
Yeah, I think both words are actually. I think there are Arab. There may be an Arabic version of Askari, but from what I understood, Askari and Hodari were both um, Swahili words.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
so
And
go ahead. I'm
is
sorry,
that the meaning that you knew as well? That basically soldier with the heart of a lion, more or less?
man. And I am embarrassed.
That's okay. That's okay.
I'm
I knew
embarrassed.
I might be putting you on the spot
No,
with
no,
that.
no. You're good, man. I could rip this off to people, but I think yeah, Scary Hodari mean I think Hodari means something to the effect of honorable, and
Okay.
Askari means soldier. In
Okay.
fact, in the wars, there were these wars between the Ethiopians and the Italians. Some of the, I believe they were Somalian fighters. Were they Somalian or Etrian fighters who fought on the side of the Italians were called the Askaris. That were their names. So,
Okay.
but it's from what I understand, both words are Swahili. So Askari, my understanding was that it meant soldier, and then Hodari means honorable or like good.
Okay. Do you want to talk about the kind of describe the book a little bit, or do you want me to?
I can. The book was basically about these three guys fighting crime and inequality in this fictional inner city. Um, I wanted it to be kind of a grounded take and grounded look. Um, so I didn't go with like the superpowers or anything like that. It was almost kind of like Batman fused with maybe like the Punisher, but not nearly as violent. They wear armor. They use guns that don't kill people. The bullets are like made from the solution that like almost like a sedative. Uh, I had the whole thing worked out. It was an interesting run, man. But yeah, I was kind of going for a grounded take, and again, I was aiming for adults, which is why I chose the style that I did. I was looking for almost like a cinematic look, which is why I chose to use the photo reference and stuff like that.
Well, when I saw your book and then I saw Strange Haven, Millage's book, that made me think I could do this because I always would draw, but I never was good at cartooning per se. But I thought, well, this is a way I could do it. So I'm forever in your debt and in debt to Mr. Millage as well. Um, and your inking in those issues is so great. It's it's not exactly cross hatching; it's just hatching, and I love that too. It was like very inspiring to me. What tools were you using to do your inking at that time?
I was using micron pens. If they were even around, I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
they were. I was using the micron pens and a ruler, basically. Um,
Okay.
if you notice, like if you go back, well, let me back up a little bit. Let me tell you how I even stumbled on to that style that I've been using. I still use. Um, I was out of college. I was doing my illustration, and I was looking for something to make my work stand out. I said, man, I have to come up with a style or a technique or an approach that's really gonna make my work kind of stand out from everybody else. And I ran across uh, that book that Bernie Wrightson did, that Frankenstein book. Did you ever seen that?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that is what led me down the path to using that style and what he's essentially doing. And then I'm gonna take you a little further too to see and explain where he got it from. But what you do is you essentially you don't it's not cross hatching. You're just using the thickness of lines and the distance of lines to create value or dark and light. So the closer the lines are, the darker the image appears. The farther apart they are, the lighter the image appears. It's a bit of a challenge though, because you have to, because you're not cross hatching, um, things can get things can get a little lost sometimes. I'm trying to describe what I mean. You have to really
Yeah.
put a lot of detail into it, or things will look very graphic and lack detail sometimes. So, but interestingly enough, Bernie Wrightson was influenced by an illustrator named Franklin Booth, an older illustrator. He's not obviously not alive anymore, but he was influenced by Franklin Booth. So I ended up picking up a Franklin Booth book, kind of went to the source and um, really saw what basically learned from the source, learned from the master, as opposed to kind of Wrightson's interpretation, which was pretty spot on. Because that's not even um, Wrightson doesn't even use that style a lot. I think he just used it mostly for Frankenstein.
Yeah.
But go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's fine. This is exactly what I like to hear on Exposition, and I'm familiar with Booth, but I never connected the dots.
Yeah,
When I first saw your work, it reminded me of John Toddleben a bit, and I know that James Owen, who does Star Child, was influenced by that Bernie Wrightson's Frankenstein as well. So a lot of good stuff came from those Frankenstein illustrations. So
yeah, that stuff was phenomenal. And I think the one thing, like if you look at the trade of Ascari Hadari, you'll notice that while my style is the core of my style remains the same, my approach is very different. Like, so the first maybe 2 to 3 issues, I did everything freehand. I didn't use a ruler, which when I think back is insane. Um, I did all of the lines you see were all just done freehand. Um, I was attempting to, which is something. It's funny because you look at something and you think, okay, I'm going to interpret this, and then you go off and you do your kind of version of it. But then when you go back to the source, you see that what you thought the other person was doing wasn't exactly what they were doing. So what I was attempting to do in the first issue, second issue, was what I was attempting to do was try to not define the edges with lines, like outlines, like a typical cartoon or comic. I was trying to just use contrast of things against one another to create the edges, which is insane. And I lost a lot of detail doing that. So if you see, as the book progresses, you start to see me use more rulers. Towards the end, I'm actually using hard outlines around some of the figures and stuff, because I just felt like I was losing a lot of detail, a lot of description and stuff like that. I don't know how I feel about it. It was an experiment. Most people who read the book can't see it like I see it, but you being an artist, if you go back and look at it, you'll be able to see the difference if you get the time.
yeah, artists are their own worst critics, and take it from me, it stands up even after all these years. And I did notice the progression of style, but that's only to be expected. I mean, we're here to get better, not stand still. And in a collection, and again, the collection of Ascari Hadari is called Gorillas, Gunsmoke, and Mirrors. Can people
Correct.
get that on Amazon, or where do they get that?
Yeah, they can get it on Amazon. Yep.
Okay, Glenn Brewer, Ascari Hadari, Gorillas, Gunsmoke, and Mirrors. It's available on Amazon, and I highly recommend it and suggest you all grab a copy because they're going fast. Okay, well, anything else you want to say about Ascari before we move on?
I will say this: the approach that I took with the photo, the photo realism. Like, that's not the way that I typically, like, I drew before and I've drawn since. I typically don't use a lot of photo reference like that. That came from he was primarily a cover artist named Tim Bradstreet. He did a lot of stuff for a company called White Wolf, a tabletop gaming company, RPG gaming company. He then went on to do a lot of stuff for Marvel, a lot of covers for Punisher. He did some stuff for, I think, a Blade book, some Hellblazer, stuff like that. But he had a style that was really heavy photorealism. So he was the inspiration for that. And I'd always thought it was cool. I always thought the style was cool. I always thought it would be slick if he took that style and applied it to comics, Right. But so he was the inspiration for the photorealism, though.
Well, you were my inspiration. You, Gary Spencer Millage, and Jack Wood Lemon in How to Murder Your Wife, and I've taken it to the nth degree. I mean, if I had more friends, I'd have a cast of thousands, but usually it's just me and my wife. So I've taken to using a lot of masks and playing all the characters myself. So to various degrees of success, but that's where I've taken it. So,
Okay. Okay.
but and people might wonder, well, that's the same girl from the last one, but I I figure it's kind of like that show American Horror Story, where they have the same cast, and
Yeah. Yeah.
next story arc they're playing different characters,
Right. Right.
or a lot of directors will use the same actors, but when you're looking at them, you don't think they're the character from the last one. You
Right.
might think, well, heck, that's uh I don't know, whoever, insert your name of an actor here, but uh anyway, but I mean, when you see Clint Eastwood in a movie, he can be the man in the with no name, and he can be Dirty Harry. You
Right.
don't there's no confusion, so I figure it's fair game.
Right.
Okay, well, I would be remiss if we didn't move on and start talking about Lorraine, your new comic. Um, Now you put out the first issue last year, and you're priming to release the next issue any time now. In fact, you already have a few copies available. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Um. I My plan with Lorraine was to put out issues 1 through 4 exclusively online, just digital, and then uh, do a print version of the trade of because the book, the arc story arc is in total is 5 issues, so it's gonna be 1 through 4 digital. The first issue was gonna be free. I was gonna sell the issues after that, 2, 3, and 4, online, digital only, and then try to get people to purchase a trade for me. Um, but because I've been trying to do these cons, I can't go if I don't have a product. So I figured I'd do a small print run. So I don't know.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Now, this might be getting personal, and tell me if it's none of my business, but I couldn't help but notice that there's a character named Lorraine Taylor in Askari Hadari, and Lorraine Williams is the Lorraine in your current comic. Any connection, or do you just like the name?
Now I think I just like the name.
Yeah.
Lorraine was actually a woman who worked. She worked at the place at a place that I worked, and she was just a nice lady. And I was grabbing names for anywhere, just because I didn't want to think too hard about like, oh, I'll just use Lorraine as her name. But for my Lorraine comic, I wanted to play off of the word rain like a queen. So I thought Lorraine would be was a good fit for that.
I think that's really cool too, and the comic is spelled Lorreign, so it's Lorraine, and I thought that was a good play on words myself. And so people know what we're talking about. I'm going to bring up a page from your first issue, if you don't mind, and
No, absolutely.
here.
Go ahead.
And there you go. And that's the title character, Lorraine, as you see in the bottom left-hand corner. She's applying her name tag, Lorraine Williams. So, and you can see the progression of your style here, where you are using more outline, but that same shading, painstaking technique, that would drive me crazy. So I can't help but applaud you for that. Um, Now tell us a little about the story behind this series.
Okay, so Lorraine Lorraine's story was actually and is actually a part of a much bigger story. She originally was kind of a co-star to another character. But my problem was I really wanted to move on this story idea, but I hadn't fleshed out all the particulars of the who and the why in terms of what happens in the book. I know I don't want people to think that, you know, it's one of these things where we never find out who or what was behind kind of this apocalyptic event. I know, but the specifics of it I needed to work out. So what I wanted to do was kind of just tell the story of this other character, and doing it in a way where I'm not writing myself into a corner in terms of laying out all of this plot in terms of what exactly happened. Lorraine's story is mostly about her surviving in this world, and then there's some other themes and stuff like that are going on. You will get some clues as to what happened, but this first series of books really isn't about what happened per se. It's mostly just about her trying to figure out how to survive and how the experience changes her as a person. So
I really liked the fact that the cause of the apocalypse wasn't exactly, or the apocalyptic event wasn't exactly laid out. I liked the fact that you were seeing it as if you were living it. And right. I thought that made the story very strong, right, from my perspective. So, and you know, I thought that what the little bit I've read, you know, I don't have the whole issue. I had your preview, but I thought it was like coming out of the gate really strong. And I look forward to reading the trade when you get it all together, or if I get some more money, I can pick up the issues as you release them. If people want to contact you to buy your comics directly, is there a way to do that, or is it all through Amazon?
Let me ask you this. So when you, because I think I had it set up where people would email me and I would send them a link, right?
I think that's the way I got it. Yeah, I think you were offering that briefly, and I immediately jumped on it, and you sent me a PDF preview. Yeah.
How many pages were in that preview?
I'm not quite sure here.
Let me ask you this: where do you remember the story ending?
She was. It was in the grocery store.
Okay, that's all you gotta say.
Okay,
that's all you gotta say. Yeah, that's the complete issue. That's the whole first number one.
Okay, then. Yeah. I was wondering about that, whether it was the cliffhanger, yeah, or whether I was missing a few pages. So.
No, that's the cliffhanger. I left it like that. So yeah, if people wanna get that first issue, it's absolutely free, the digital version, and people can just go to my website, which is LorraineForever.com, which is spelled LORREIGN, the number 4, and then EVER.com, LorraineForever.com.
Okay. And we'll put that link in the information below this video on YouTube. So okay, if you're watching this show, check out that link and pick up a free PDF of the first issue, and you'll see what we're talking about here. And I again, just like Askari Hadari, I highly recommend this. I was really glad to see something new from you. I know you've been busy in between, but this, I'm glad to see you doing another long form comic, or at least mini series, I guess we should say. We're winding up to the half-hour mark. I didn't even scratch the surface as far or as deep as I wanted to. Is there anything you want to say before we call it quits on tonight's show?
No, not really. Just I appreciate you having me on. Appreciate you taking the time to check out my work. I'm definitely enjoying yours. Like I think I talked to you about that Arizona. I really like that story. Um, but yeah, I just want to let people know the book is issue 1 is absolutely free. I have it set up on my site now where you don't have to copy and paste the email. I have a form embedded right in the site. So if you go, you put the email in, you press the button, it will immediately take you to another page with the whole comic you can read for free, or you can download it as a PDF. So it's real easy to do.
Super cool. Hang around. I want to talk to you after the show, but that's it for tonight's program. And I want to thank Glenn for being on the show. And this has been another episode of Exposition. And until next time, remember, folks, think Zinc.